Good morning, everyone. So many of you. It's good to see you, and good to see all you friends on Zoom. Thanks for being here. Today I'm going to talk about Metta practice, or loving kindness. And we've been focusing on this in our retreat. This is our second day of retreat. And so I have to say to those of you who've been here that you'll probably hear some of the same things again, but you probably forgot them, so, right? Anyway, repetition is good. So I'd like to start with reciting the Metta Sutra together. And how many people have this? Who doesn't have one? That needs one. Okay, you can share, right, with Judy there. And I actually need one. Can I? Okay, thanks. Okay. So let's just recite rather than chant as we do on Saturday mornings. Metta Sutra. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will charm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies, downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, free from drunkard and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down. Free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Thank you. You can take this home if you like and use it for your practice. Thank you. Oops. Okay. So the Metta Sutta is found in the Sutta Nipata. And it's said that loving kindness meditation came about because Buddha sent some monks into the forest at night to meditate all night. And they became extremely fearful because there were bad smells and there were sightings of spirits. And it seemed the spirits were agitated. And so the monks felt a lot of fear and they went to the Buddha and they said, you know, what can we do about this? I don't think we can go back there. And he said, well, I'll teach you this meditation. So he taught them, and the story goes, they went back and they had a really great time doing this practice and the spirits responded well. to them. And the animals responded well. And the bad smells went away. And it was happily ever after. So we can use this practice just like the frightened monks. We can work with the spirits within us of fear, anger, and ill will, and its milder forms like agitation and irritation. We can send a loving kindness to ourselves, and we should do that exclusively for a while. It's taught that's what we should do, is offer it to ourselves. We have a hard time being kind to ourselves. It's easier somehow to be hard on ourselves. I don't know why that is, but the Dalai Lama was pretty shocked when he learned from that first generation of insight teachers how much self-hatred people have in America. And he was saddened by that. And he really didn't understand it at first, because it's not something that's in the Tibetan traditional culture. Yeah. So first we start offering love, kindness to ourselves, or sometimes we start with a benefactor. And especially if we have trouble being nice to ourselves, we should start with someone else. And a benefactor or a mentor or a teacher, it could be a grandparent, or who knows, the librarian, that's your librarian when you were growing up. Someone who is nice to you, someone who helped you in some way. We call to mind that person first. And then after that, we can call to mind ourselves, sitting there on our cushion or lying down in our bed, however we're doing meditation. And we offer it to ourselves. And we need to offer it to ourselves. Lots of teachers who've taught loving kindness have said, you need to really spend quite a bit of time on yourself before you move on to other beings in your life. So the way it goes is we start with a benefactor, then we go to ourselves, then we go to a neutral person, maybe like your mailman. I don't see my mailman that often. He just comes in quietly and leaves stuff, and then he leaves again. So I recognize him. I know what he looks like, but he'd be a perfect neutral person for me. So someone like that, if you can find someone like that. And then after that, a friend. And finally, lastly, a difficult person. You never start with the difficult person, because lots of tough emotions can come up when you bring them to mind. And so you try to start with someone who's just mildly irritating to you. We all know, we all have those people that are mildly irritating, so that one is pretty easy to call to mind. So it's good to start out with a little bit of reflection on what loving means in this case, loving kindness. I like the term boundless friendliness a little better than loving kindness, but I use them interchangeably. Metta, loving kindness, and boundless friendliness, or universal friendliness. It's a little easier because love, that word, trips us up often. It's often associated with eros rather than agape. Greeks had at least those two words for love. We just have the one. It has to be a one size fits every situation, which it doesn't, So it usually involves, our conception of love usually involves attachment and reciprocity. I love you and I want you to love me back. I love my children, but I want to cling to them. I don't want to let them go and experience the world on their own. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of attachment involved with the love that we usually think of. But this is like a universal spiritual love, that we cultivate and offer, to people that we can visualize, and then out to all beings in the universe and all creatures, animals, plants, everything. So gradually our circle of friendliness gets larger and larger and larger. So the word metta comes from the Pali Metta, which means a friend. The Visuddhimagga, or path of purification, recommends that before starting the practice, we should maybe take a moment to reflect on how dangerous anger and ill will are, how much harm they cause. Because this practice of loving kindness is really about working with our aversion, with our ill will that we all have, When that comes up for us, even in a retreat, it comes up. We feel embarrassed about it, Well, I do anyway. I feel embarrassed about that. My tendency is to want to, let go. Just like letting go of thoughts. Just let go of this. But this is different. This is about actually using kindness to work with aversion. So aversion becomes like the stepping stone to kindness. It really switches it around. It's different than we usually think of it. Yeah, and forbearance and patience are also really important in mindfulness in doing this practice. Just as I want happiness, here's another reflection. Just as I want happiness and fear pain, just as I want to live and not to die, so do all living beings. That's a really good reflection for me. That one really works well for me. Just to connect myself up with all of us, the full catastrophe of living and knowing what we're all dealing with. We're all carrying a load of this conditioning. So doing that establishes this interconnection to other beings who are struggling with fear, anger, irritability. So another one of the Buddha's instructions on metta from the Samyutta Nikaya is this: looking after others, one looks after oneself. How does one look after others while looking after oneself? By practicing mindfulness, developing it and making it grow. How does one look after oneself? By looking after others, by patience, non-harming, friendliness, and caring. This seems like something we should have learned in kindergarten, doesn't it? I mean, or actually in the home before we went to kindergarten. Metta teaches that my happiness and freedom are interwoven with yours, and that your suffering and your struggles with ill will are mine as well. So in silent retreat, we do this practice alone, sitting facing the wall all day, along with work, talks, mindful walks, and dokusan. It's this really challenging practice that we do alone, but with others. We retreat. Have you ever told your friends you're going to a Zen retreat and have them say, "Oh, lucky you"? I often think of that when I'm sitting there in the afternoon sitting. Boy, this is quite a spa. But we retreat from the noise. and the busyness of daily life. You know, our lives just keep us going, you know, just going, 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 going. So this is a great opportunity, even when it's a little painful, you know, even when it's, even when we have some difficulty in our sitting. We receive this silent support from one another and from the volunteers who make it all come together. And we move through our day as one body. So it's like we're living the paradox of being completely alone, but supported by others in retreat. The universal language of Metta knows that all of our thoughts and speech and actions make an imprint on the world, not to mention our own consciousness, you know. And that in turn drives our behavior, our consciousness. Through the practice, our awareness grows of the universal aspects of being human. Our deepest longing is expressed in the phrases used for the practice. May I, excuse me, may I know safety, may I know happiness, may I know peace. To be kind and to be treated with kindness and respect is part of our deepest desire and longing as humans. Metta is concerned with learning to see through the eyes of tolerance, respect, and kindness. So we don't have to actually love everybody, you know. Who was it that said, I love people, I just don't like individuals, or something? There's a quote like that. So we don't have to love everyone, but we can learn to dissolve this sense of self and other, this dualism that we have going on, where I see myself as completely separate from you, self and other. So we can learn to use this experience of aversion and fear in ourselves within the boundlessness of the big container of the practice. We can pay attention to how aversion shows up in the body. You know, can we be a little curious about it? It's actually a good place to do that in retreat, because you have the opportunity to sit down multiple times in a row, and things do come up for you, you know, and you can feel them in your body, because practice is all about mindfulness of the body. So can we meet it with our attention and mindfulness and some kindness towards ourselves and some understanding that everybody is prone to it? As I said yesterday, Thich Nhat Hanh talks about holding anger in our two warm hands. You know, like anger is our baby. That's pretty much a stretch when we first hear that, right? It was for me. But it kind of makes sense, especially within the context of metta practice. You know, we take responsibility for those feelings. You know, this is me, I'm having these feelings. They're my feelings. They weren't caused by anyone else. I have to take responsibility for them. And that's what Zen's about a lot, is being responsible to yourself and then to others and to the practice place. Taking care of things, even the shoes. You can tell a lot about people when you see how they place their shoes when they come into the Zen center. If they're all kittywampus, you know, you realize there's a little bit going on up there, you know. And Suzuki Roshi and Katagiri Roshi were all about that, you know, all about how we do really ordinary things every day. So this is like holding our anger in our two hands is like, it's like working with our aversion with kindness. We bring kindness to the experience itself instead of trying to kick it out. Just like in Zen, we can't stop our minds. That's not a very good goal to have, to want to stop your mind, because your mind will never stop. It doesn't stop when you sleep, it's constantly going. But that's okay. You know, that's got to be okay, because that's how it is. So when we pay attention to aversion and its arising, you see that it's a driver of story. You make up stories about the other person. We have instant judgments. If you notice that, you'll see that it's true. When you first meet someone, it's either I like or I don't like. It's a judging that comes up, and it's automatic. It's before we even think of it. But we can work on it, you know, softening that, kind of wear it down over time with this practice of zazen and practice of loving kindness. With stories and narratives about other people comes this, it reinforces the idea of me and you over there. So if you notice, oh, so this distance and aversion is like, it's a breeding ground for ill will and aversion and fear to fester. So this me and you, I, mine, and you, yours way of seeing things is noticeably absent in moments of kindness in your day. See if you can notice that. We usually feel a sense of ease and well-being after a kind exchange, after a moment of kindness. And that sense of separation is simply not there, or it's just very subtle. So that's something you can notice, work with in daily life. So we've all had those experiences of kindness in day-to-day life, but we just have to bring mindfulness to them to see the lack of the story making in that situation. All of these Brahma Viharas are interconnected. Joy and compassion are present with loving kindness. Equanimity grows as we practice the others and as we have a solid meditation practice. Then when we tend to our moments of aversion with this practice, then the aversion becomes like a stepping stone to kindness. It's actually the ground on which we stand. So we learn to accept and care for all aspects of our inner lives. Mindfulness of the body, feelings, and thoughts are also cultivated as we practice these contemplations. So in retreat, we practice letting go of thought on our cushion. But with this retreat, we have been both practicing letting go and also cultivation. It's interesting how the metaphor of farming comes up over and over again in Buddhism. I find like these little bibs that we wear are representative of fields, rice fields. So that's interesting to me. So, and also in retreat, we spend a lot of time together in close proximity. So there's lots of opportunities to see aversion arise. A lot of people, we're not doing a session this weekend. It's a contemporary retreat, but when we do session, there's a lot of people that are there that are experiencing aversion to oryoki, for example. especially if they're brand new to it. You know, they're already adjusting to being inside this container, this schedule, and getting up really early and sitting late into the evening. And then they're confronted with this complicated practice, which when you get to experience with it, then, and you don't have to think about everything you're doing, then it can be quite beautiful. And there's lots of Dharma that is in meal chants. Our meal chants have a lot of Dharma in them. We can learn from it. So there's all these opportunities to experience the arising of irritation with other people in retreat. We think when we go to retreat, it'll be all peace and love, and there's a lot of that. But there's also like, ooh, why is that person, you know, doing what they're doing? Why are they coughing or burping or you know, moving all the time? You know, we're not supposed to look at each other, but we know what each other is doing in that room. We know. So there's a great opportunity right there too. And I speak from experience, you know, of doing retreats for decades, and especially in my early retreats, really noticing not only myself, but other people getting irritated with each other. You know, as a priest / teacher, I notice sometimes that the first day of a retreat, a longer retreat usually, some people look really grumpy, you know, and I used to think, wow, what's the matter? Are they mad at me? You know, and no, I just learned over time, especially experiencing my own grumpiness, that, you know, it's just sort of an adjustment thing, you know, until people settle into the rhythm and the schedule. There can be this grumpiness about being there. The term metta is a noun, but it's also a verb. We learn to befriend ourselves and all of our mind states and all of the people who come into our lives, the lovely and the difficult ones. It's a fearless kindness rooted in concentration and insight. When we're seeing the thought patterns and our conditioning, we might be upset about it. We might be dismayed at what we're seeing. When we see our conditioning come up, but you know, it's like that saying, if something goes, it goes like, if we can't see it, we can't heal it. So it actually shows progress in your practice when you start to see all these behaviors and thought patterns. When I became a priest, it got real intense. It was like, there it was, okay, look at this. Well, I'd like to do a guided practice today with you, to kind of end this little short introductory talk about Metta. This comes from Sharon Salzberg, who has a book out called Loving Kindness, and she's very kind of famous as someone who teaches this and practices this. So let's come into a relaxed posture. Allow your shoulders to drop. Sit upright but relaxed. We learn to do that in Zen. Relax while being upright. Close your eyes and Start by taking a few deep breaths. Allow your breath to be natural. We're choosing as an object of awareness the repetition of certain phrases with ourselves as the first recipient. You can use any variation of these phrases. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Repeat these phrases after I get you started, with enough space and silence to create a rhythm that's pleasing for you. You don't have to force a special feeling. Just gather all of your attention behind one phrase at a time. Don't worry about it if you get distracted or feel sleepy or become lost in thought. It looks like she's starting with a benefactor. Bring to mind someone we'll call a benefactor. Think of someone who's helped you. This person may have helped you directly or indirectly, such as a teacher whose legacy in teaching lives on through books and talks that have helped you to practice in your practice. If someone comes to mind, you can bring them here. Visualize them. Say their name to yourself. Get a feeling for their presence and offer the phrases of Metta to them. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Now have that benefactor figure offer metta back to you. Put yourself in place as the recipient as your benefactor offers the phrases to you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. All kinds of emotions may arise. You may feel grateful or you may feel embarrassed. Whatever comes up, see if it can just wash through you as you steady your attention on repetition of the phrases. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy and live with ease. Next, imagine a friend who's doing well right now. Visualize them or say their name to yourself. Offer them the phrases of loving kindness. May you be safe, be happy, be healthy, live with ease. Now imagine a friend who's having a hard time. Bring them here and offer the phrases to them. May you be safe, be happy, be healthy, live with ease. And next, a gathering of friends and family, like this group here, our Dharma family. Offer loving kindness to all the people here today. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy and live with ease. Then finally add all beings everywhere, all creatures, all those in existence near and far, known and unknown. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy, be healthy, and live with ease. And when you feel ready, just open your eyes and come back to just this. Being with just this is something that we learn to really appreciate. That's what retreat offers us, this chance to be with just this and not being pushed and pulled by lots of complicated circumstances and our fancy minds. So thank you for listening today. We won't have questions because that's our tradition here. When we have retreats, you don't take questions with the Dharma talks. And I wish you a wonderful day.